between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Welcome everybody, and first of all, so very sorry to hear about Steve Curtis, and our condolences to Steve's family and friends. Never want to start a programme off like that, so we're going to have him very much in our thoughts as we move to Oulton Park, the halfway stage at the end of today's race. And a delight once again to be joined by Jack Oliphant. Hello Jack, how are you?
I'm not bad, yes, thank you very much, Richard. It's Oulton Park, a local circuit for me in real life, and it's always nice to come back here on the sim. It's unlike Castle Combe a week ago, it's actually one of the most popular circuits we have here at VRRC. We seem to come here every other championship, if not more often, which goes to show that it is living up to its hype as a driver's circuit, and one that gives us good entertainment as well, actually.
For sure, the great thing about doing it virtually is you don't have to queue to get out for an hour.
Yeah, very true. Even though the house is only 30 seconds away, it has taken me an hour and a half to get there before.
Yeah, I do love Oulton Park. I don't know. It's a long drive up from London, particularly on a Friday, but it's always worth it when you get here. And one of the tracks that I particularly love Saturdays, when you can walk around the whole circuit and chat to the fans and watch the different vantage points. It's probably one of my favourite visits of the year, I've got to say. Really looking forward to today's racing, though. We've had, as I closed off last time, with 6 different race winners so far, 3 different pole setters. Are we going to get somebody doubling up this round? I think we might well have that, Dan.
Well, yeah, and some of the drivers that are going to be gunning for that are the likes of the drivers that are on your screen right now, actually. Joel Lask, who had a fairly dominant round, it has to be said. He ended up taking home the most amount of points after, I think, coming second in the first race and doing pretty well in the second. Elliot Dalton-Ayres won the first race by a dominant display, he actually went on to score the second most amount of points. And, of course, Josh Martin, who finally got his moment to shine in the commentary box once more after we had a chat to him after the second race. He came out of it with the 3rd most amount of points in the championship, so out of that round. So actually Castle Combe serving those 3 drivers particularly well. There were a few naughty boys, unfortunately, on the naughty step with some track limits behaviour going out here, there and everywhere, but luckily, Richard, at Oulton Park, do track limits pretty much just get spat into a wall, so I'm sure they'll feel it if they do that again.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the Oulton Park for real, of course, has now got that lovely, great big gravel trap runoff, which I think is going to be conducive to quite a few rollovers and yellow flags when we get the Toka package there. We get enough of them anyway, but the real world scenario, I think that the so-called improvements, it'd be interesting to see how that all pans out. But yeah, absolutely right. It's close quarters. It's probably the nearest thing you get in the UK to racing on a very old school, old style track with, the beautiful setting, plenty of ups and downs to test the drivers, and yeah, should be a great day's competition today for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, no, looking forward to it really. It's I always sort of liken it a little bit to Zandvoort, where I remember going to a test day at Zandvoort once, and they said, if we don't have track limits here, if you go off, you're in a sandpit, so good luck, don't go off. And it's sort of Oulton Park, although the Brits don't really have that sort of sense of humour or that sort of relaxed nature about it, you do get the impression that it would be here if they said it anywhere. But of course, we not only just covered the top 3 in the last round, we've got the championship to look after, haven't we, Richard? And I believe, hopefully, Rich will be able to put that on our screens right now, and you can take us through it.
Yeah, thanks very much. So, 3 rounds complete. Joel Lask, who was top scorer last weekend, tops the standings, 14 points clear of Nicky Taylor. Nicky hasn't had a win yet. Is he going to put that right today? We have to wait and see. Tom Churchhouse is a very impressive third on 72, 4 points behind Nicky Taylor. Then Josh Martin fourth from Brad Smith. John Higgins for Hills Motorsport is next up on 54. A brace of 53, 7th and 8th. Andy Carroll, who we'll be riding around with in a few moments. Nathan Smith is 8th with Craig Curtis, and the top 10 wrapped up. Believe it or not, after one event, Elliot Dalton airs into 10th position. So how much higher is he going to climb after today's race? Remember, he's only done one of the 3 events. Great to have him back, and he was driver of the round last time out. 11th is Chris Blakey from Johnny Ogden. Next up is Lee Piercy and Kenny Press. Thomas Potter, the Teapot, 15th. 16th is John Jones. I'm going to be going down to John's part of the country soon. I believe it or not, the Isle of Wight next week for my holiday, so Andy McKeon will be back with you. But enough about John and my travels. Adam Lyle is 17th from Zamfir Radu. 18th, Paul Laramie in 19th place. And then Sam Milner wrapping up our top 20 in the Paradise Racing machine. See also on the graphic we've got the amounts of ballast that are allocated to each driver, and you'll see that 21st Matt Smith doesn't have any ballast, but he does have 11 points. Simon Thorpe is chasing him, 4 points down. Stu Henderson, who's had a couple of promising starts in the racing so far, he's next up on 4. Alec Irongar, I think, is back with us this weekend. Welcome back, Alec. Got 3 points, as has Sam Walton. Last of our point scorers, Mark Stokes. Debut man last weekend was Dave Heasman. He'll be looking to get off the ground in this event to get some points, and 28 is Julian Alwandi. So that is how they line up coming into the racing today, with Joel Lask on 45 kilos of ballast, 90 points. He's got 5 kilos more than Nicky Taylor, who is in 2nd position in the championship table. More of that as qualifying and racing, of course, gets underway. Here's the track map for you of Oulton Park. If you've not been here before, very well worth a real world day out is Oulton Park. Whether it's raining or sunny or otherwise, doesn't matter about the weather. It's a terrific circuit, and one of the few where you can actually watch inside and outside for the majority of the track. Close racing guaranteed, and in a moment or two we'll have the hot lap for you. Any thoughts on Oulton Park? I mean, whereabouts are you based, Jack? It's actually a local one. We'll come back to that because I think we're going to go into a hot lap. So plenty to talk about here at Oulton Park. Let's go and have a ride around the circuit, courtesy of Andy Carroll, who comes through virtual Deer Leap, uphill and ready to cross the line. And we are underway for our lap, heading down towards Old Hall Corner, the very tight right-handed corner. This is where you get a bun fight. I'm sure we will on the opening lap, with 3, maybe 4 cars abreast as they make their way down the avenue now into Denton's, then into the left-hander at Cascades, watching the run off to the outside of the circuit, right-hand side of the track, then back along Lakeside. You can't see the lake, but it's behind the trees to the left. Then we go round Island Bend, so into the hairpin, rather than using the full Shell Oils corner up the other end. Out of that, very quickly out of Ireland, through Falstons, up to Hilltop, which you can see very clearly now, and then downhill into a potential passing opportunity into the Knickerbrook chicane. And we haven't got a second commentary position there, but we do have in the real world. So out of Knickerbrook, then it is heading up Clay Hill. So you can see the footbridge, which I think has just recently been replaced. We're heading up Clay Hill now, under the footbridge, heading up towards the double apex right-hander at Druids, which we'll see in a moment. Here we come, turning in now. Grab the first apex, just a little bit wide. Grab the second apex, and then it is full steam ahead under the Paul Warwick Bridge, heading up towards Lodge Corner. Another potential overtake here at Lodge, the right-hander. Only if you've made a mistake, probably, or if the driver in front's made a mistake through there. Grab a little bit of the exit, down through Deer Leap again, and that will see our virtual lap of the Oulton Park Island circuit, courtesy of Mr. Carroll. Super job by Andy Carroll, 1 minute 32.833, and the times have been on par with that in the practice session, which Andy was second. Looking at the time screen at the moment, Elliot Dalton airs seems to have been quicker since I've been online a little bit earlier on. Qualifying is underway, and I'll come back to that question that I had for Jack. How near are you to Oulton, mate? Is he there? I can't hear him. Qualifying is underway. Jack will.
Sorry about that. I
hello.
muted myself, Richard.
I
Apologies
didn't
about
know
that.
didn't know if you were sneezing again like last week.
No, but I had muted. It was the same effect, basically. Yes, no, it's well, Oulton Park is actually based in Little Budworth, which is effectively just a little forested area with a tiny little village which has one pub, and I think that's about it. It has a good pub quiz though, to be fair. And we walk the dog round there, so we're about 3-minute drive or something like that, which means that you can quite often hear. We're close enough that you can hear the circuit very clearly, and not close enough to get the free tickets because of it. So yeah,
close enough that you can hear the noise and you could get it closed down if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, we can complain about it, which we don't, because obviously we enjoy the racetrack. It just so happens that a lot of people who moved here since it's been built have decided they don't like it, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, the virtual world doesn't have those sorts of noise restrictions and nonsense that the real life has to do with. And Elliot Dalton Ayres is currently top of the timing. And of course, Andy Carroll, who was our chauffeur on that particular hot lap, a race winner from last weekend in race 2, was last weekend. That's catching on with me. Last week, I should say. And yeah, he'll be hoping to take that kind of momentum into Oulton Park. He's doing quite a good job, Richard, because he's in 3rd.
He is. Josh Martin had a little bit of a grassy arse moment there, and manages to get it all collected up again. I just marvel at the realism of the visuals that you see now on these circuits. It is very much akin to being there. Minis at Oulton Park, a little bit like Ginetta at Oulton Park for me. He tends to have a few incidents. So, I mean, we've had roly-polies and all sorts of things in the minis over the last couple of seasons, and I'm sure we'll get more of the same today. You're talking about noise complaints. I might get one from next door because I can hear my neighbour, Jean, next door neighbour, who's in the room the other side of the wall where I am. So she might have to stop work if I'm shouting and hollering. So there might be noise complaints from this end.
Well, hopefully they'll understand. Yeah, if they do start having a go at you, Richard, just send them a link to the broadcast, and they'll understand. And they'll get excited as well. But yeah, I think ultimately, I remember being in the holding area in Ginetta's at Oulton Park on the Tocker package, and the minis have gone out and they've had 3 rolls in one race or something stupid, and we've been sat there for an extra 40 minutes. And I wouldn't make light of it if anyone was hurt. Everyone was absolutely fine, obviously, but that just meant that we were sort of sat there waiting forever. And I think our race got cut short at the end, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, it's a spectacle, like you've just been mentioning quite a lot, and hopefully the drivers will put that spectacle on here tonight as well. There is Craig Curtis, just outside the top 5 for the time being, but satisfyingly inside the top 10. Josh Martin currently at the wrong end of that top 10, with Lee Piercy in 9th, Paul Laramie in 8th, Brad Smith in 7th. Once a championship contender, are we still calling him a championship contender? Richard, he's all the way down in 5th and 20 points behind 1st.
He's got to be, isn't he? Say a halfway stage tonight. So I think it's going to be dependent on what he can deliver today. But he's there or thereabouts. Yeah, top 10 at the moment, 7th position, not too far away. But of course, the drivers he's got to keep an eye out for are ahead of him. So your likes of Nicky Taylor, your Joel Lass, Elliot Dalton Ayres is going to want to try and get in the mix. And incredible, wasn't it, that Elliot got into the top 10 on one evening's racing?
Yeah, well, that just goes to show how quick he is, honestly. Like, it's for anybody who's used to watching the broadcast, that won't surprise many people, to be honest, because he is absolutely rapid, and front-wheel drive is a bit of a specialty for him. He's pretty quick in anything, but as soon as you put him into anything that looks like or resembles a touring car, he's gone with the wind. He's up right at the front of the order, and there he is again in 2nd place.
Excellent stuff. So, yeah, Elliot Dalton Ayres. 2nd, Nicky Taylor, looking to try and be the first man to double up on poles. Remember, he took pole position at Donington Park, the first of our CAMMUS JCW mini car powered by Phoenix Racing events. The Silverstone poleman was Tom Churchhouse, and Nicky Taylor taking the pole in the 3rd event. So it's Lask, Churchhouse, and Taylor. Taylor not only looking to double up, but make it 2 on the bounce here. And this is what he did last week. Went out, set the very early benchmark, carried that through, but hasn't had a win yet. So this could be the track where he manages to pull that all together and get his first win. As we have a quick look at Chris Blakey in the number 27, the Automac car. And I normally do a wakey. Here comes Blakey. That used to be for Blake Anglesey in the Ginetta. So Blake Anglesey won't be very happy if he loses his his mantra. But Chris Blakey fourth at the moment, so none too shabby. Chasing on the timing screen, Joel Lask, who is in third.
Chris Blakey, I tell you what, he's doing a lot sort of better than we tend to expect of him. I don't think that sounds a lot harsher than I mean it to be, but he's been very, very quick, and he's beating a lot of people that we quite often think would maybe be ahead of him more often than not, like the likes of Josh Martin. Nathan Smith's been very quick. Brad Smith, obviously, we mentioned already. Tom Churchhouse this season, for the majority of the time, well, the first 2 rounds particularly, he was very quick indeed. He's all the way down in 18th, though. Matt Smith as well. So there are a number of drivers that we probably haven't seen. Thomas Potter, who have pace. We know they are quick drivers, but Oulton Park is a bit of an enigma, isn't it? It's hard to get right. It's a big momentum circuit. You only need to put one wheel off in the wrong place, and it all goes wrong. And obviously with some fresh tyres on, maybe people have got into a bit more of a rhythm. Just going back to Nicky Taylor, Richard, you probably said it far too many times, as well as me and Andy have in the virtual world as well. Oulton Park, if you want to be on pole anywhere, it's here, isn't it? Because it's so difficult to overtake.
Yeah, absolutely right. He needs to get those points in the bag. And I think from his perspective, grab the win. It's the fact that he hasn't had a win so far is he's only missed, I don't know, I was thinking 14 points, the gap between himself and Joel Lask, and Joel keeping him within watching distance at the moment, being provisional third on the grid. So it is going to come down to those two. But Nicky can sneak it on the last round. Remember, we've still got Croft next week, which sadly I'll have to miss, but I'll be back for Anglesey. I had a real world booking for Anglesey today, which is nice as well. I'm going to Anglesey twice this year, which I can't wait for. Then we've got Thruxton and Brands is our last. Brands actually is our last of the current campaign, our 8th round. So we've got those events all to go as we see Alok Iyengar, and we switch over in actual fact to Nicky Taylor, as we were talking about Nicky, who is green on his last lap, so having an absolute flyer, and green sector 2 as well then for Nicky Taylor. So he's really getting into a little bit of a groove here. Not only is he quick from the word go, he's still improving, and I think the others are going to have to take watch of this. Let's just hope that he has a better start than he did at Combe.
Yeah, I think he's hunkered up behind Andy Carroll as well, which has given him a nice target to aim for and a bit of a slipstream, Nicky Taylor. So this all points towards an extension of his pole position run, and he goes across the line, and it is exactly that. He beats it by about 1/10 of a second. Green in all 3 sectors, and a few drivers are going to have to work very hard to try and close up that gap anytime soon. Elliot Dalton-Ayres still in 2nd place, Joel Lask in 3rd, Chris Blakey 4th, Andy Carroll inside the top 5, Brad Smith in 6th. Looking down the order, Adam Lyle has gone 3 green sectors as well. He's up to 11th place, and Thomas Potter, who had improved on the previous lap to get himself into 13th, finds himself demoted down to 14th, but is going pretty quickly here as well. 2 green sectors to his name. He could crack inside the top 10. He needs to find a couple of tenths. Well, actually, he needs to find, a fair few tenths, actually, to achieve that. And I don't think he's managed it. He got a track limit, so probably on the final corner. So Thomas Potter's going to have to live to fight another day. But I'm having a look at his time that it should have been, and I think he probably would have been just about inside the top 10 if my quick maths are correct in terms of adding all 3 sectors up.
Yeah, Dr. Palmer will like virtual racing because it doesn't spoil his grass, does it? So
No, he wouldn't get as much money though, Richard, would he? So he probably wouldn't like it.
I'm sure he'd find a way. He's a astute businessman as Elliot Dalton-Ayres lights up the timing screen with a purple sector 1. This is P2, so are we going to see... You know, he was late to the championship, but it doesn't matter because we're going to get some great racing from this youngster who you might remember last week was talking about, never mind the GCSEs, I'm going to come and do some racing. And I think it was probably the right thing to do. His career will be in motorsport. I've absolutely no doubt about that. And, we'll just see how the rest of the sectors go.
Keep talking like that, Richard, and his parents will be right up into his room and turning off the console. Encouraging him as you are. The bad influence, and it gets him on pole position, no. So you may well be right, because he's just about pipped Nicky Taylor by 1/10 of a second up into 1st place, and he had a purple sector 1, purple sector 3. His sector 2 was down, so there's still more time out there for Elliot Dalton-Ayres with 1.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, do you know, I love this story. This is potentially our 4th different pole setter, which just goes to show how very, very competitive this competition is. Nobody being able to pick down an overall dominance of qualifying. So Oulton Airs, is Taylor going to be able to fight back? He's showing orange at the moment, sector 1. So Elliot Oulton Airs, Nicky Taylor on the outside provisionally of row 1. Row 2, Joel Lask, the championship leader, still in that mix. And Chris Blakey is still in 4th place. So Blakey has been consistent on qualifying, 9th, 7th, 5th, and now looking provisionally for a 4th. So always been in the top 10 of qualifying of this series so far. And doing a super job as we look at Brad Smith, the hottest man in the field, he bills himself as.
Well, yeah, we'll let him be the labeler of that one, shall we say? He has got sector 1 gone green. His sector 2 is a 10th or 2 off Elliot Oulton Airs. Sector 2 that's just gone, not the purple one. I can't see that information, but he's going a little bit quicker as Brad, and he's going to come across the line. Is he going to set a better time? I don't think he has. He's still in 6th place. Andy Carroll went 2 greens though in 5th, so he maybe just went a little bit further ahead of Brad Smith. And looking elsewhere, Tom Churchhouse is on a green sector 2, and we've cut to him now, Richard.
Yeah, so Tom Churchhouse, remember, running strongly in the championship, 3rd position, but wallowing in 13th. Unlucky for some at the moment on the timing screens, but starting to put in some good ones. Is he going to be able to make this jump through? He's on the last lap. It's his last chance saloon for Tom Churchhouse. Is he going to be able to move up the order? He's had a 6th position pole, obviously, in our second event, 12th last time out, and he's actually now down in 14th position. So it's going to be a tall order for him to try and get a little bit further up. Mid-grid perhaps with 2 races, but that's not going to score him any big points in the racing. As we switch over again to look at Brad Smith, and again, that sort of line that we mentioned that he puts in his driver's CV, if you're a real-world driver, it really does help the commentators, help build your personality up, that sort of thing. So it's a good thing to catch on, a good memorable thing. We'll see where Brad is going to wind up. P6 at the moment.
Yeah, we've said that quite a lot, actually, me and Andy, over the past couple of years. You sort of want to have a trait almost, and if you can self-label your trait, obviously you get control of it. Sometimes we give other drivers traits that they maybe don't particularly like, but it makes us remember them. So Joel Lask on green in sector 2, not so quick in sector 1. He's coming to the pits. I think everybody seems to be coming into the pits. Tom Churchhouse is green sector 2. Kenny Press, Josh Martin has just been demoted down to 16th as Kenny Press came across the line just before. Checkered flags have been waved in front of pretty much everyone though, and I think the only person that could potentially get a little bit of an improvement, Johnny Ogden, has gone green in sector 2. We'll see him come across the line. I don't think it's going to be cracking into the top. So, oh my days, it's into 3rd place. Well, I didn't finish the sentence.
And the reason he did it was because I'd already written down the top 6 with him out, not in it.
Yeah,
and that always happens. I guarantee that will happen every round.
Yeah, always helpful, that one, Richard, isn't it? Well, while you rewrite to the top 6, we'll shoot to a very quick advert break before we go and speak to Elliot Oulton Airs.
Well, our thanks to NGK bringing you the spark at Oulton Park. I won't get any more cheesy than that. Let's go to the pole man. Many congratulations, Elliot Oulton Airs. Congratulations, mate. How are the studies going?
Very well. Yeah, just almost setting times to do like revision and obviously practice, and it seems to be working so far. You know, I got pretty good grades, and I seem to be doing well in this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Best of both, well, yeah. Yeah, one of these all-round sportsmen, good at exams and good at everything else. How surprised were you to get into the top 10 of the standings on one event?
Not too surprised. I know where I've been in the past with these because obviously I've raced in VRRC before, but I mean coming into a challenge. Why are the lights coming on? But coming into a new championship. Coming into a new championship is always difficult, especially when you've got people who have been putting a lot more practice on different tracks, getting used to the car a lot more, getting used to different setups.
Aware of what the other drivers, timings are? Are you looking at them? How does it work for you in qualifying?
I don't really care about the others, to be honest. I'm just focusing on myself and doing the quickest time that I can do, and that was good enough for pole. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. I mean, it's a bit of a role reverse this time for me and Nikki, so hopefully I don't crash out this time. But yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it? You've got to be mindful, really, if you have a driver off the start here. Is it somewhere where you've had plenty of poles here on Virtual Oulton?
I've had plenty of seconds, but I've never had a pole at Oulton. Well, I got my first ever podium. I got my second ever podium at VRRC here. So good memories, I think. So yeah, let's just see what tonight brings us.
Excellent. Well, all being well, we'll catch up with you on one of the podium interviews for race 1 or 2, but we'll let you glide away, get a little bit of a breather before we go racing. And well done, Elliot, on taking pole position. 4 different poles halfway through the series. We haven't had a double up yet in terms of a pole position, which again underlines what a great competition this is. So good luck for the race, mate, and thanks for having a natter with us.
Thanks, Rich.
So looking ahead to the race, it's Elliot Dalton Ayres on pole position. Nikki Taylor will line up P2, Johnny Ogden and Joel Lask next up. But before we go racing, a look at what else is coming up in the world of the Virtual Reality Racing Club with Jack.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Richard and Elliot. The World Endurance League, well, you've probably heard me witter on about this quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, and indeed months, actually, because we started it all the way back on 17th of January. We had a Qatar and Imola, 2 brilliant rounds before, well, after this championship, we head to Spa and Le Mans. So we've only got about 5 weeks left to go until our next round, actually, April the 10th and April the 24th. This is basically a way of splitting up our main championships, which, of course, the minis is what 1/4 of for the remainder of this year. Then we have another main round championship, then Sao Paulo, Kota, main round championship, followed by Fuji and Bahrain in September and October. You got a host of cars you can able to drive, as well as trophies for first, second, and third. Driver of the round medals and a full broadcast as well, brought to you by Richard and obviously myself and Andy McEwen, and hopefully Richard if he wants to jump in on the commentary for these things as well. So it is awesome. You can join in. It's free if you are a VRRC member. And if you're a non-member and you want to have a go at 90-minute racing, bit of endurance, and see how you fare against the likes of Nikki Taylor, Elliot Dalton Ayres, and the rest of them, well, you can just join up for one off round at £10. There's also one dropped round as well for season. Not only that, there's much more on the VRRC. There's about 4 different things, actually, that we've got 3 different things that we've got to go through. And the trucks is the next one. We've already had the Nürburgring GP, so it means we're going to Zolder in just under a week's time. 2 15-minute races, live watch-alongs, so you don't get the pleasure of mine or Richard's or Andy's voices, but you do get a chance to actually watch the races as they happen. And it's free entry for not just VRRC members, but the VRRC Discord members as well. All you have to do is sign up to the Discord. Just click the link down in the description below. You'll get straight to it, and it's free entry to drive in trucks around some of the best circuits on the European calendar. If you want to get involved in that, and then qualifying is 15 minutes, then 2 15-minute races, by all means, jump along. And not quite finally, it's the circuit to Spa and the time attacks. The BMW M2 GT2. You got about a week left of this one before we head over to the Porsche 911 GT1 car around Le Mans. Easily, probably the most difficult thing to drive that we've got going on here at VRRC, and see how you can get round Le Mans in the quickest amount of time. But before that, get some practice in the BMW M2 GT2, a brilliant car to drive. Lastly, the Mirror League. If you have been living under a rock, then you might not know that the F1 calendar is about to rear its ugly head. And Saudi Arabia is the first one for our Mirror Leagues. This is basically where we've chosen a 12 rounds. So basically, on the same day or the same week as the real F1 calendar, we also do a Formula race. Not quite Formula 1 cars. We're going to race in the Formula 3s or 2s, Rich? 3, Formula 3 car. A little bit easier, a little bit more sort of get to grips with it quite a lot quicker. And we'll be kicking that off on the 7th of March when the F1 goes to Saudi Arabia. And of course, there's trophies for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Right, I think that's all everything that we have to run through, Richard. It's about that time we probably start thinking of and looking ahead at what's going on in the first race here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think first of all, though, we've got a little bit of a word from our sponsors, CAMMUS. Between the themselves and the third podium step. Let's see whether that will continue. If these two are going to work with each other, the alarm company back machine running well through and under the Paul Warwick Bridge they go again. Always sad to think about Paul. Always remember him when we come here and race at Oulton Park. Past Nodge Corner. Through Deerleak we go again. And the pole position man, Elliot Dalton Ayres, is going to cross the line in front. Nicky Taylor, though, is very much on the case as the top two go through. Joel Lask is in third. Johnny Ogden fourth. So Johnny loses a place from starting third on the grid as they go down into Old Hall Corner for the second time. And Elliot Dalton-Ayres actually has got a little bit of breathing space now. So we look at Joel Lask up ahead of Johnny Ogden, battling it out for third place with Carroll behind, then Blakey, Brad Smith and Craig Curtis in 8th, and Paul Laramie and Tom Churchhouse now up into 10th.
It's been a fast and frantic start, hasn't it, Rich? And by the looks of it, Dalton-Ayres has been able to hold on, but Joel Lask doesn't look all too comfortable in third place after having it, getting it off Johnny Ogden earlier on. Obviously, we know that Johnny pretty much, it's argument to say, only had one flying lap underneath his bonnet. Let's see what his race pace is like and see if he can take it to Lask. It was a little bit more consistent with the times that he was putting in. Andy Carroll, of course, and Chris Blakey have swapped positions as well. Tom Churchhouse has managed to make his way up to 9th place. Brad Smith has slipped down to 10th. So there's been plenty of moving and shaking in that mid-pack. And after that, though, everybody seems to have spaced themselves out. Everybody's got a car or two's width between themselves now, haven't they? And you're starting to probably see the real Oulton Park sort of traits starting to come in now, can't you? Where it's arguably looks like it may well get a little bit processional, but we know that VRRC members don't do processional, Richard. they like to throw everything at it.
Yeah, they do, Jack. And do you know what? I think I said last week, I don't mind a processional race because if you do get one, it means that you've got drivers that are pretty much at the top of their game, all very well equally matched. That's the fact that you have to take. I did expect Nicky Taylor maybe to be a little bit closer, and we might get into like a 3-phase race with the start with Elliot Dalton-Ayres just having a little moment there. 3-phase race where maybe someone can set the pace in the early stage, and then the chasing cars might come on in the mid or closing sectors. But I'm guessing Nicky Taylor won't think there's anything wrong at the moment. We're just maybe having a look and trying to suss out where any chink in the armour might well be, as Johnny Ogden challenges for third place as they go up to Hilltop. We'll see those two cars emerge side by side. Ogden, if he's got the momentum, has got the run, he's got the line coming down into the chicane, is he going to be able to take third position? They're still side by side, and Joel Lask doesn't want to cede it. Lovely bit of dicing between the pair of them.
Yeah, it's going far too wide on the exit, wasn't it, of the hairpin, sorry, which meant that Johnny Ogden got a little bit of a run on Joel Lask. And it's Oulton Park's about the only track you can probably get away with that sort of mistake, really, because he's very, very brave going into the Hislop chicane. And Johnny Ogden still can't get up the inside through Druids. It's a very dangerous place to go around the outside there, that always says. But up the inside is possible, but only if you get the run up the hill, which, again, is very difficult. All this is bringing into play Andy Carroll, isn't it? Race 2 winner from a week ago. After that reverse grid victory, and it's seen the front two drive off into the distance, all of a sudden getting a battle for the first place, a battle for third, all the way down to fifth, and then almost 6th place in its own little world of its own as well. So plenty of action going on here and storylines to be written.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you nicked my line there, really about Andy Carroll getting in the mix and starting to try and make his way through, as we pick up on Nathan Smith chasing Josh Martin, and he goes for a little bit of gravelling or rallycross. It never done rallycross at all, but I'm not particularly sure. Certainly not what we wanted to see from Nathan Smith. So a big shame for him, but manages to get back on, losing a few places now down behind Simon Thorpe. So he's got a little bit of recovery to do, but it's Elliot Dalton-Ayres still out front at the moment from Nicky Taylor. And we're looking at Andy Carroll, busy trying to just hunt down on Johnny Ogden there in the white car with the black top. Not quite as close at the moment to Joel Lask. Now, points-wise, it's very early, obviously, the halfway stage of the season to start thinking about championship points. But Lask here in third place is potentially on for 20. Remember, he's got a 14-point lead over Nicky Taylor. So Taylor's actually at the moment, if we ignore fastest lap, it's only going to take 2 points out of the championship lead of Joel Lask, and that's not a bad thing. But obviously Joel, so damage limitation for him, but he will want to get into that lead battle if he can, of course, and finish ahead of Nicky in race number 2. So it's all going to be about race 2, I think, these ones, as we said last week, where you finish, the places you climb on the reverse grid race is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, well, I think Joel Lask actually only came 6th in the end last week, but we'll get back to him in a second, because A-Lock Iron is doing something you don't often see around Oulton Park. That's overtaking someone, and he's gone through on Simon Thorpe into a 17th place. Both drivers keeping it on the circuit. Big puffs of smoke from the rear wheels, and Nathan Smith, who obviously we saw having a little bit of an off earlier on right here at Cascades, has managed to just pull away a little bit as a consequence. There's Brad Smith inside the top 10 with Tom Churchhouse. Again, nice and close doing battle, but again, there is a gap between the likes of Brad Smith and Lee Piercy, Josh Martin, who seem to be having a bit of a ding-dong just behind them.
Yeah, Josh might have to be reliant on the reverse grid race to get a podium, which incidentally was bumped off, wasn't he, last time once all the judicials and everything were sorted out. So Brad Smith facing Tom Churchhouse. Tom qualifying outside the top 6. Brad Smith has gone from 7th down to 10th, which is not great for him. Still 5th in the championship, so the position's really all over the shot, you have to say, at the moment. As things are getting closer again for 3rd place, Johnny Ogden very definitely now closing up on Joel Lask. Goes to the outside of the circuit here. This is an optimistic move. Might just chop back in. He's got to be very, very careful because Andy Carroll right with them. So it's 3 cars now for that 3rd position. 1st and 2nd, Elliot Dalton-Ayres and Nicky Taylor away and down the road. And this time now looking for the inside run as they come into Old Hall Corner. And it's a super move by Johnny Ogden, who gets his nose in front. But there's a little bit more momentum perhaps to be carried by Elliot Dalton-Ayres. They go side by side now with Andy Carroll right behind them as well. This is great side-by-side action, and Dalton-Ayres has got the run. There's a little bit of hip and shoulders, as my colleague from ITV, Paul O'Neill, would call it, and off goes the erstwhile 2nd place car.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's past tense. It was brilliant, wasn't it? As Joel Lask and Andy Carroll looking to try and take advantage of a little bit of a slow car in front, but it's not happening. I think Joel Lask is probably going to have the pace to drive away, and I'm not sure whether there was enough space, Richard, or whether there was a closed gap, or we don't know from the angle that we got given, do we? But I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that afterwards. But Johnny Ogden, after doing so well in qualifying right at the end, and then doing so well at the beginning of this race as well, he's seen it all snatched away from him, unfortunately. He's got back on the circuit, but he's down in 10th position now, which has meant that everybody else has bumped themselves up 1 position, as Andy Carroll now finds himself struggling to hold on to Joel Lask.
Johnny Ogden needs to keep that momentum in his head, doesn't he, for the rest of this race and then the reverse grid race as well, because he knows in his mind that he's got the pace around here, as we watch Joel Lask still in 3rd position and looking a little bit safer, but everybody else beginning to close up as well. There's Craig Curtis. Craig trying to close up on Chris Blakey. And still Elliot Dalton-Ayres now a 2nd to the good ahead of Nicky Taylor. Nicky will definitely want to win. I'm thinking championship-wise, probably not too bothered because Elliot obviously down in 10th, having missed a couple of rounds. But Nicky will want a win. Make no mistake about that. Are we, though, going to see Elliot become the first man to double up in terms of the wins? We watched Craig Curtis in that 32 car, the Hyro Motorsport Primex livery. We were talking about Max Coates off air. Max, if you're watching, it was all very polite, I have to say, and complimentary. I hope Max is watching. Or as always, yeah, we do like a bit of Max Coates. Looking forward to seeing him around the circuits again this year and his family. They were looking after the Dragon Sport Scholarship for us a few weeks ago up at Blyton, and then again the finals day they did at Brands Hatch. There is the Primex car, Craig Curtis, P6 at the moment. That will, I was going to say, will equal his best. It won't, because he had 5th in race number 1. He's very, very competitive at Castle Combe, a 5th and a 6th last time out. As Andy Carroll continues to try and close in on Joel Lask. Can't quite get as close as Johnny Ogden did. Johnny, all the ones at the moment, the 111 car down in 11th place. And Johnny trying to challenge Brad Smith here. So Brad in the 69 car not had the run that he would have wanted. And Johnny Ogden is actually doing what I said. He knows he's got a little bit of pace around here. Seems to be at home with the track. And at home we're making a few moves as he goes through Deer Leap once again. And tries to put a move on Brad Smith. Is he going to go inside or outside here? He's almost bootlegging him. Going to try the inside run. Hasn't quite got enough momentum to do that as they go into Old Hall. And this is where he had his moment off the circuit, or a little bit further down. But he goes side by side again. So Brad Smith in green. Johnny Ogden will have another look. Thinks perhaps slightly better of that. He'll take a wider turn in and maybe get some momentum as they go up towards. I think he has had a better run out of it, but he's going to be on the outside line as we take our blimp shot over the top here, down towards the island hairpin. And no, he can't quite do it. So again, might want to go for a wide turn and carry some momentum up over Hilltop and down into Hislops, but can't quite do it at the moment.
Yeah, Brad Smith parked his car nicely there on the island. Hairpin, didn't he? But Oulton's not done and dusted there. He couldn't quite get alongside to get the breakdown into the Hislop chicane. It's going to have to be another lap behind Brad Smith's luminescent Mini in 10th place for Johnny Oulton. So, yeah, it's just stunting his progress further forward. And like, say, when we saw Nicky Taylor go off at Silverstone and Castle Combe, it was a little bit more of a fight back, but there was more opportunities to actually fight back, Richard, aren't there, around circuits like that? Whereas here, there is pretty much, you have to set up a move about a lap or two in advance. I mean, therefore, it takes a lap or two to get around just one person, which is not ideal for Johnny Oulton, who is not close enough to worry Brad Smith. So he's not even putting him offline through the final corner as well. But it looks like they might have a run going into the first. As where on earth is Brad Smith going? He must have a drive-through. I'm going to have to just wait for Rich Hayden to maybe message in my ear and say whether or not he jumped start. He got a drive-through.
Yep.
Interesting. Not entirely sure why that has happened, Richard, but a drive-through is the punishment. Oh, track cuts, Richard. I didn't. I didn't know that around Oulton Park there were many of them, but I can only assume it's out the first corner and the last corner. That's normally where they bang on about it in real life.
Yeah, well, all we need now, just to add to the reel, is Tim Harvey moaning about track limits, isn't it, really? That's what we get in. And bless him, he's usually right with what he says as well as Tim. I think he might be away on holiday again. He's usually away on holiday, Tim. Anyway, back to the action. Battle for third. Joel Lask and Andy Carroll. Carroll started 6th on the grid, so has made up a couple of places here. That's the sort of thing you're going to be looking for. Still piling the pressure on. The EPSC was 9th. And we go back, Potter, Craig Curtis, Nathan Smith, Alok Iyengar, back with the 32 car of Craig Curtis. And now back to our battle for 3rd and 4th place. Joel Lask seems to be able to soak up the pressure, whether it's from Johnny Ogden that we saw earlier on or Andy Carroll. I keep wanting to say Adam Carroll from the real world, but it's Andy Carroll. Particularly as I've been looking at some old results the last couple of weeks as well, which Adam Carroll was involved with. But 3rd place, I've got to say, Lask looking pretty confident at the moment. Quick look at the gap on the timing tower. 2.5 between Elliot Dalton, Ayres and Nicky Taylor. So that's all looking fairly settled at the moment. He says, not wanting to put the curse of the commentator on. And as if by magic, our director goes to the 2 race leaders heading over Hilltop, coming down the hill into the Knickerbrook chicane, which we used to call the Knickerbox chicane because there is a comms box there. Great place to do a co-commentary from if you ever get the chance. And I'm guessing, Jack, that you've probably done a few stints in there.
I did one at the Fun Cup event for the VRRC, and it was one of my first ever paid real life gigs from memory, actually, as well, because Andy McEwen couldn't make it, so he offered me the gig. And I turned up at the main race control area where I thought all the media was done, and they told me to go and sit in this wooden box on the outside of Hislop. And I thought, are you sure? And I arrived there, and there wasn't even power, but there was about 17 spiders to keep me company. So, yeah, it wasn't the most comfortable, but I have to say it was one hell of a day and an experience. So thoroughly enjoyable. Hopefully, like, these drivers are enjoying their time right now on the virtual track, because Andy Carroll has caught back up to Joel Lask here, and I think Lask, well, I thought he was going to drive away into the distance, but there's going to be a fight for the last podium place.
There is. We've only still got 9 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time for this to play out. And Joel Lask is still there, but the gap ebbing and flowing. Lask seems to just get a little bit of pressure on him, then applies a wee bit of second wind and starts to get away. But Carroll, with no pressure from behind, we'd be looking at Paul Laramie in 5th position. So Paul trying to put as much pressure on as he can to try and close down. I guess if these guys were getting heavily embroiled with each other, is Laramie going through? If they get embroiled with each other, they might potentially slow each other up, but we haven't seen any sign of that so far. What we have seen is Adam Carroll closing up, but not really had a proper nibble so far at the 3rd place man. And either way, it looks like we're not going to get any new names on the podium for race 1 at least.
I was just thinking back, we mentioned Andy Carroll being a race winner in race 2 last week, but actually it was only because of some unfortunate contacts, I think it was, in
Yep.
race 1, that he wasn't really in the fight for it in race 1 as well, because he qualified very well, which you probably had the notes better than I do, but this is a continuation from Andy Carroll, isn't it? Not an anomaly for once.
Yeah, he's doing well, putting on a real good show at the moment. And, you know, 7th in the championship stand, joint 7th with Nathan Smith. So, and he's going to consolidate that. He's actually going to pass. He's going to pass John Higgins, because I think John Higgins is absent this week, which is a shame. John was 6th in the standings, and Brad Smith is down behind these guys as well. So Andy Carroll's looking at, maths-wise, getting up into the top 5, and you know that's serious playing, isn't it? As we watch Johnny Ogden now putting Tom Church. Johnny Ogden, he's absolutely flying. He's caught Tom Churchhouse now, and having a good look on the inside. Thought there was going to be a wee bit of contact there, but I'll tell you what, Johnny Ogden is Nicky Taylor-esque, if I can use that phrase, in terms of his fight back. This is good stuff from him. He hasn't let his head drop.
You can use the phrase. I'm not sure he'd thank you for it, but you can use it. But yeah, Johnny is really very sort of moving and shaking, isn't he? And as I said, at other tracks, he probably would have been back up inside the top 5 by now. But obviously, Oulton Park, the way it is, it means that he hasn't quite managed to do that. But he is now fighting against some really tough drivers. Not to say he wasn't before, but one of them fell off in front of him, which meant he got promoted up to 9th place. And since then, even with his pace, though, he's only able to have moved up one more position and just to get to the back of Tom Churchhouse, which for Ogden will probably feel like it's the worst situation you could potentially have, because he'd probably almost rather be outside the top 10 and get that better reverse grid slot, and then he can go and potentially take that victory. It's strange, really, because I mentioned him about the sort of one last lap right at the end of that qualifying session. Normally when a driver, Richard, you'll probably be able to back me up here, but normally when a driver can only put one lap together that's that quick, it's a complete fluke, and you see them moving backwards. It seems to have gone the other way, doesn't it? He seems that his qualifying pace wasn't actually representative at any point of his race pace, because he seems very, very fast.
Yeah, just look, it's the scenario where I think it clicked for him in that last lap, and he's carried that forward into the race. But we're back with Lask and Carroll. So Lask again, just maybe pulling away a little bit from Andy Carroll at the moment. They're still a pair for sure, as are Paul Laramie and Chris Blakey down behind them, and then the gap back to Tom Churchhouse. So it really is sort of 3 pairs, the top 6, with fair gaps between 2nd and 3rd place. And we're looking at the battle for 3rd coming down the hill. Through the chicane we go again, past the bumps and up Clay Hill. So Andy Carroll still trying his hardest to get onto that potential podium position. So championship-wise, there are some ramifications here. As this is where I lose the plot, because I'm all right adding up the 5 points and everything here, but then when it comes to race 2, I'll have forgotten what happened in race 1, and I won't be able to refer to them. So ignore the maths for the time we get into the reverse grid race. Dalton Ayres now 2.2 seconds clear, as we see Carroll really getting on the case now, was trying to draw level, can't quite do it, but giving notice of intent to the 3rd place man, Joel Lask. Now he's going to look down the inside. Is he going to get the overlap here? No, he can't quite do it. The camera angle deceiving us ever so slightly there as they go down into Old Hall once again. Now I think he does get his nose down the inside, but there's a wee bit more momentum from Lask again, who holds onto position. Lovely, timely overhead shot here as we watch this pair. Now that move, it's gone again, isn't it? So Carroll's got to try and build up the momentum again. And I come back to what Jack was saying. These moves have to be built up over pretty much a whole lap. Certainly a good strong sequence of corners now as Carroll tries to go on the inside, dart down the inside, but it's a tighter exit from the corner. So a little bit less speed being carried through the corner. And he can't gain that, I don't think, unless he does a banzai move on the brakes down into the chicane, which he won't do now. Still 4th position for him, but these guys giving each other a very good workout, which is terrific to see. And here we go on board.
Yeah, I think the realistically, if you want to take a move into the 1st corner, it has to start at Knickerbrook, which we've just gone through. Now he needs to put him offline through Druids. He's not close enough to do such a thing. Then he will have to put him offline through the final corner, and all that might just about culminate in you being able to go alongside them, whether it's on the outside or the inside, going through lodge, but it's so difficult. And I think what Andy's trying to do, looking up the inside, because that's all he's doing, isn't he? He's looking up the inside. He's not actually going for it just yet. Is to try and get that psychological advantage on Joel Lask and try and put him off kilter. We're going to the inside now. That's going to be a lunge if he tries it. Now, he's just trying Joel Lask to make him miss an apex. Filling the mirrors, moving around behind him, trying to make Joel Lask make a mistake so Andy has an easier job of getting around him. But Joel at the moment seems impervious to it. With 3 minutes to go, Andy might get a little bit more desperate. Having said that, knowing Andy, he's a very level-headed guy. He'll take 4th place and not really worry too much about it. But he would much rather get on the podium as they go into the island hairpin. Again, Joel Lask parking it on the apex pretty much perfectly. And he's going to be a tough customer to get round, but Andy Carroll's going to give him everything.
He's going to have a go now, isn't he? This could be the late breaking down into the chicane. He's got the inside run. Is he going to see that he's hard on the brakes? Manages to go over the curbs on a little tap on the side of Joel Lask. But now Carroll goes wide as well. They tag again as they go up the hill. So up Clay Hill, back on the grass. Well, goodness me, that was a move and a half, wasn't it? Contact from both sides of the track for both cars. It's bringing, I think, Paul Laramie into the mix, but ultimately now it's Carroll up into 3rd place.
Yeah, I think for me, Carroll needs to give that back, to be honest, because going into the chicane, I know we like to see hard racing, but he just jumped the corner and just jumped into the side of Joel Lask going into the chicane. It didn't look like he was going to be able to get the car stopped and turned, and there still be enough room for 2 cars on the track. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gives it back. He doesn't look like he's got much thought about it, though, does he? I'm sure the stewards might have a word about it as he cuts the corner on the inside and then runs wide on the outside. Andy Carroll's a little bit all over the place here.
Well, Lask down to 4th. That's a 4-point difference between himself and Nicky Taylor for the championship. So Taylor will get the points difference down to 10 points by my maths on this one. But this isn't over yet. And Joel Lask, although he's got Paul Laramie right behind him, will be thinking, yeah, I want to get that 3rd position back. 49 seconds on the clock. Does that mean this is the penultimate lap of the race, with Elliot Dalton-Ayres still out front in the 71 car? So Elliot running well, closing up on one of the Smith brothers, I think that is, and possibly might be able to, it's Matt Smith, isn't it, in 24th position. Could find himself on pole position, Matt Smith, for race number 2, the reverse grid race. Again,
Brad Smith as well. I think Josh Martin just getting past Brad Smith and pulling away slightly as the pictures just start coming back to me a little bit there. We are on the final lap. Dalton leading by quite some distance, Richard. He's had a very dominant display, and Nicky Taylor has sort of been close enough at the start, but not really close enough to challenge anything after the first 5 minutes or so. I think Andy Carroll, I'm sort of trying to get into what maybe he thinks. Obviously, we might be able to have a chat with him afterwards. If he remains in 3rd place on the track, he'll come into the commentary booth and we can ask him. But there may be a suspicion that if he would have given Joel Lask the position back if Paul Laramie wasn't so close to them. That's, potentially sort of a thought process that may have gone through his mind. But we can't deny that Elliot Dalton-Ayres has been absolutely rapid and he's been dominant, has he? A pole position and what looks like a race win, Richard.
Looking very good, isn't it? There's Nicky Taylor in the background. So final few corners here at Oulton Park, the first of our 2 races through Deer Leap. The virtual checker will await our first double winner of our season in the CAMMUS JCW Mini Cup, powered by Phoenix Racing. Congratulations to Elliot Dalton-Ayres, who takes it from Nicky Taylor in 2nd position. 3rd position is going to go the way of Andy Carroll. I'll tell you what, I might switch around our normal podium protocol, and just by the way, the people we've spoken to, if you want to, Jack, if you want to do 3 and 1, and I'll do 2 on the podium for the race.
Absolutely, yeah, no, don't mind that at all. But the checker flag has waved. Everybody else seems to be coming across the line. I know our timing system on the left, the timing tower, looks a bit of it out of whack. Well, the server's been having 1 or 2 issues. Don't worry, that's what you expect. Where you expect people to be is where they will be when the points get tallied up. Don't worry about a thing. A-Lock Iron Guard, unfortunately, won't be taking third place, and Nathan Smith in fourth. So, yeah, a bit funky on the timing tower, but Elliot Dalton did end up with the victory. And with all the checkered flags starting to fly, I think it's about that time that we head over to have a word with our very quick sponsor before we have a word with our top three.
Thanks to Evnia for their support of this wonderful championship and a super race there. And a third place interview, Jack's going to do the honours with Andy Carroll.
Yes, Andy, hello. You probably had the busiest drive out of anybody in the top three there. Talk us through it from your perspective. Are you sort of a little bit exhausted after that?
Yeah, a little bit hot and sweaty after that one. But no, it was good fun, and yeah, it was a struggle to get past Joel, as it always is. And yeah, I kind of wasn't sure. I don't know if you saw if the overtake was on stream or not, and if you saw it or not. And yeah, I was kind of then I saw that Paul had caught us right up, and I was at 50-50 as to whether I'd let him back past or not. And I thought I'll take my chances in the steward's room.
That's interesting, really, because I did sort of suggest that maybe Paul Laramie was a thought process. I instantly said, once the move had done, I think he should give it back. And then, all of a sudden, I realised that Paul Laramie was a little bit too close for comfort, and I thought, oh, maybe he's waiting just for it to be reversed afterwards, so he didn't have to worry about Paul. Was that sort of true, then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when it first happened, I was like, oh, I kind of wasn't quite sure if it was my fault or not, but yeah, and I looked in the mirrors and looked on the timing. I could see that Paul had literally caught right up behind us, and I was kind of like, well, probably can't let him past without sort of giving Paul a chance to get past as well. So as I say, I just thought, you know what, if it goes to the stewards and I get a penalty, then so be it. But yeah, just from then on, just tried to keep him behind me.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised now. You pretty much said that if it happens, probably the first thing on Monday. But yeah, it was a good race, Andy, though, ignoring the incident and everything like that. You were trying to do everything to put Joel off, weren't you? You were going looking up the inside, looking around the outside, little lunges here, there. Was it just a way of trying to get him offline?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see certainly as we got further into the race, a couple of corners, he was really struggling, I think, with the ballast and struggling with the understeer. So I was just trying to sort of position it so I could try and get a better exit and sort of, be ahead, be in a position to put a move on into the next corner and stuff. But it was really, really tough. He obviously took some good defensive lines to keep me behind him as well.
Well, Andy, you are going to jump up a fair few places after that one. We won't say how many until after the second race, because obviously reverse grids can be quite hard work. So big congratulations on the third place. It may turn into fourth, but it was still very entertaining for us to watch anyway. Congratulations.
Thanks, Jack.
Great stuff, Jack. Well done, Andy Carroll on third position. P2, Nikki Taylor. Hello, Nikki. How's it going?
Good, yourself?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Congratulations on that one. Not a lot you could do about Elliot, but dogged stuff from you. You kept him very much in sight, if not able to physically challenge.
Yeah, it seems to be the occurrence tonight is that I'll do a really quick lap, and then Elliot will do like a 10th lap quicker, and it keeps seeming to do that, because in practice it was the same, and then in quali I thought I got pole the free, and then he goes ahead and does a low free. So he's a bit annoying tonight, but yeah, he was just driving really, really good, just consistent, and I think it was every lap I was looking at the gap, and he was gaining 0.2 on me every lap. I seemed to gain it back in a bit at the end, but yeah, the weight and the tyres were just dragging the car off a cliff.
I think championship-wise, you managed to claw 4 points back on Joel in that one, if my maths are right and if I've got the finishing positions right. So championship-wise, not a bad thing.
No, championship should be all right, but to be fair, I'm not focused on the championship until the last 2 rounds because at the end of the day, anything can happen. But I was looking at the positions and I was like, if Andy can get past Joel here, that's a massive help. So thank you for doing that, Andy. And then I did look at Paul being really close to him at the last lap as well, and I was like, oh, I could actually gain some good points here. But yeah, at the end of the day, if I just consistently keep doing what I'm doing and just put in decent results, then we should be all right.
That's cool. I want to just move away from the virtual side and how are preps going? You don't obviously you're not forcing you to tell me what you're doing, but how are preps going for real world racing this year?
At the minute, not great. We haven't really got a seat yet, and trying to figure out what race series we're going into and what we can do. But we've got a big thing lined up, which we should hopefully see if that comes off. But if it doesn't, then we might just have to have a year out and just see how it goes for 2025.
I wish you all the best with that, and excited to hear what's going on. And if you aren't racing, come and say hello. Make sure you're around the paddock and talk to us. Obviously, lots of work to do in race 2 from the back of the field, and they're crucial, aren't they? The moves from the back, and Oulton's not the easiest track to overtake on.
Yeah, I don't like Oulton. I've made this very, very well known at VRRC for the many time we've come here. It's my least favourite track in the UK. I just don't like it. But yeah, of all the reverse grids, this is going to be a hard one because it's tight and there's going to be carnage. There's been carnage in every reverse grid so far this season. Sorry, but yeah, we're just going to have to just pick our way through and see how it goes.
Well, congratulations on P2, and we look forward to possibly talking to you a little bit later on. Nicky Taylor, P2, well done, mate. And over to Jack for our winners interview.
Yes, I'm just about done rolling my eyes at Nicky Taylor saying about how much he hates Oulton Park yet again for 17th season in a row. To be fair, I always say it about Croft whenever we go there, so I can't blame him. Yeah, Elliot Daltonaires, big congratulations on another race victory. I think you're the first person, Richard was saying, to win 2 in this particular championship, which is not bad going, considering you've only been here for 3 races.
I mean, yeah, I guess I didn't really watch the first 2, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, coming from obviously the victory at Castle Combe and now victory here, yeah, it seems to be going fairly well.
Yeah, you jumped your way up to top 10, like we mentioned in the poll interview. How far do you realistically think you can get up? Because you got 1 drop round, but then you have to carry a DNF or DNS or however you want to say it. How far do you reckon you can get it? Do you have your eyes on a potential prize?
Yep, I'm gonna try everything I can to try and get in that top 5, top 3. But I think this is probably from 2 wins. I think I've equaled my all-time greatest amount of wins in a championship just from 3 races. So yeah, honestly, maybe top 5, but I'm gunning for the top 3.
Well, I love it. I like the optimism, Elliot. And, well, to be honest, it's not really optimism; it's expectation at the rate you're going, isn't it? So, congratulations on the race win. We'll let you get over and start concentrating on what will be a fast, frantic, and probably chaotic race.
Yep. Cheers, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Well done, Elliot, Nicky, and Andy on the interviews. And I think it almost brings us back onto time. So I'm gradually getting the hang of looking at the timing and the schedule as we go through on these. It's taken me a couple of events to do that, but race 2 we are looking forward to with Stu Henderson on pole position, John Jones alongside, if the timing screen is correct, Dave Heasman 3rd from Mark Stokes, Sam Walton, Simon Thorpe row 4, Nathan Smith and Alok Iyengar next up from the PSC, and Kenny Press, who we haven't mentioned today in the top 10, but getting ready for 25 minutes of racing action. And is it going to be a long wait? Long enough for them? Out go the lights. So Stu Henderson from pole position with John Jones, the Isle of Wight man, will be coming down to see you next week. He is slotting in 639 into 2nd position as they go through Old Hall Corner for the first time. A bit of a wide moment there from Mark Stokes, who goes over the grass, manages to get back on the tarmac. And I think that's Mark in 3rd position. So a decent enough recovery from him, being chased by Dave Heasman in the 95.
Yeah, Stuart Henderson looked like he was wanting to take Knickerbrook rather than Cascades there. He was so wide. But he's going to be under attack now by John Jones as well. But no, here comes Heisman diving up the inside of the island hairpin. Well, there's the chaos that we were talking about. But actually, a lot of drivers getting away with it. In fact, first place, Stuart Henderson has driven away somewhat. But second down to what I believe is sixth. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a headache to see who's going to come out on top. I thought someone was going to try and dive every single person now. I think that was Mark Stokes wanting to recover a little bit up into second place. We're talking about some of our championship protagonists. Joel Lask is up to 15th. There's been no major charges through the order just yet, which suggests, Richard, that there haven't been any major incidents either, which is exactly what we want to see because no one needs a Castle Combe again.
No, we don't. And you know, I'm pleasantly surprised. So well done, everybody, on that first lap. I don't know whether Mr. Hayden read the riot act before the second start or not, but it seems to have done well. And we've got Smith up into second position. So Nathan Smith in second, the white car with the blue mirrors. Oh, a little tag on the back there of Dave Heisman by John Jones. Jones leaves the door open and through on the inside goes Mark Stokes. And round the outside now goes Jones as they go into Old Hall once again. Goodness me, I tell you what, Henderson is away here, isn't he? And you know, making the most. This is exactly what you have to do on the reverse grids. But Stokes and Henderson having a very, very good race of it at the moment.
Yeah, he is properly getting involved, isn't he? Somewhat. Josh Martin, Tom Churchhouse have reignited their battle for that about 10th place position, which is exactly the same place as where they were doing it in the first race. As Stokes goes very wide, and there's a few too many people going for that apex a little bit too quickly, unfortunately. Lee Pearcey, Stuart Walton, 5th and 6th position, but the front two, Nathan Smith particularly, is really on some pace now, aren't they, Richard? And Stuart Henderson, you feel like his time is going to be short-lived at the front of this race.
He's certainly under a bit of pressure, isn't he, now, as they head up Clay Hill. So let's see what Nathan Smith can do. I actually had to scroll my computer down on the qualifying to say, where is he? I was expecting him to be a little bit further up the grid than he was earlier on, but that can turn itself around into as he makes the move on the inside, right on the touch on the grass for Stu Henderson. And that was real world stuff, wasn't it? On the grass as he recovered. He's trying to recover. How many places he lost? He's down to 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Oh, big shame, but under a little bit of pressure. I'm pretty sure there wasn't any contact leading up to that, but a wheel on the grass. He gyrates. Dave Heisman now will go back into second position with John Jones in third, but it's Nathan Smith who is our early leader.
Gyrates, that's a word I'm going to use again for when I see someone spin. Lee Pearcey up the inside, though, going into Lodge, I believe that is actually, and he's got into third place as well. John Jones, though, he's not one for taking something lying down. There's no gap there, John Jones. Please don't try and go for that again. Oh, I thought he was going to be later on the brakes then as well. But Lee Pearcey gets to the apex, gets it hooked up, and doesn't actually get anywhere near the drive that John Jones does. He might look around the outside, actually going into the hairpin as someone is stage exit right. I think that's Mark Stokes going off again. Josh Martin versus Tom Churchhouse as Craig Curtis goes round. Craig Curtis is into the tyre barrier, or the arm or whatever that is in the sim world. And unfortunately, and there's Mark Stokes again.
Stokes is away, so Smith going through. It's Dave Heisman still in second position. Pearcey and Jones next up. Are we going to see Josh Martin grab another reverse podium? He's in 5th at the moment. It's only going to take a couple of tags and tussles to see him up into a potential third place here. But it's Nathan Smith who is away in the 11 car. Is he the Kentish man or man of Kent? I can never remember which way round it is, and I'm not looking at social media to see. Kentish man, is it? Rich Hayden got it sus. The commentator hasn't, but Rich Hayden has. There is our race leader. He's been in second position. Good gap between those. 4 seconds at the moment. Lee Pearcey in a handy third place at the moment, with John Jones dropping away a little bit into the clutches of Josh Martin. So Martin here about to try and challenge for 4th place. Behind him we've got Tom Churchhouse, then Joel Lask in 7th place. Now remember, Lask and Taylor top 2 in the championship. Lask is 7th, Taylor down in 12th. 7th place is 12 points, and 12th position I think is 5. So Lask is pulling back the points that he lost on race number 1 as things stand at the moment.
I
Jones and
wouldn't
Martin.
really worry about the mass, to be honest, because they're probably going to go chop and change in the next 19 minutes, aren't they? Josh Martin versus John Jones. Jones again going defensive. You don't get past him easily. This man will not give up. But Martin and Churchhouse, they were fighting over 10th position. Now they're fighting over 4th, aren't they? So together they seem to be working their way forward, even if they keep falling over each other at the same time. Speak of the devil, going into the Knickerbrook chicane. Oh, Josh Martin goes for a big trip over the curb, and Tom Churchhouse will have the inside line for Knickerbrook, and I think he doesn't have it, which I don't really know how he's come out of that one behind Josh Martin, but that is the way. So John Jones holds on to 4th, Josh Martin just about clings on to 5th. Tom Churchhouse frustrated in 6th position as Lee Piercy and Heisman, Dave Heisman, of course, do battle over 2nd place. Lee Piercy almost running a little bit too wide there, but Nathan Smith, Richard, has driven off. 5.7 second gap, and Heisman is only slowing everybody else up as well here through his defensive driving and maybe just straight up not being as quick.
Yeah, he's doing great, isn't he? And just looking down, I was wondering what happened to Alec Iyengar. I don't think he took the start, but I had him down to commence in 8th position, but not showing. So other runners like Thomas Potter at the moment. Teapot is 20th position. Brad Smith, where is Brad? 14th, I think, making a little bit of progress down to 15th. So just interesting to catch up on some of the names that we maybe don't always focus on. Dave Heisman still there from Lee Piercy. Back with Josh Martin. Martin still coming under pressure with Joel Lask now about to try and make the move and get some more points. And the 11 car, Nathan Smith, has had a big moment and has lost the lead to Dave Heisman.
Yeah, that was a big moment there, wasn't it? And it looked like it was going to collect a lot more people. Joel Lask makes his way through to 4th position. In fact, that means he's ahead of John Jones and the likes of Josh Martin and everything as well. In fact, no, sorry, not John Jones, because John Jones is in 2nd place, isn't it? But Josh Martin and Tom Churchhouse. Joel Lask cutting through the order and where places other people can't seem to manage. But that is a big shame for Nathan Smith. He was 6 seconds in the lead almost, and he saw it all wither away just with a mistake. I'm not entirely sure what happened, Richard. But whatever happened, it's not helped him in the slightest. Lee Piercy goes into 2nd place, and John Jones gets Tom move out the way rather vigorously.
Yep. Off goes Chris Blakey. Wakey for the marshals or virtual marshals to sort Chris out. So it's Heisman, Piercy, Lask coming from virtually the back of the grid up into 3rd at the moment, which is superb. But Dave Heisman, lovely to see the guy who joined us for the first time last week at Castle Combe and doing a grand job here, fending off Lee Piercy, who's going to go the long way round on the outside. Piercy realises he can't do that. Lask has got Nathan Smith all over him. I think Smith has got some good confidence from his run away for that 6 second lead at the front.
Oh, no.
He's recovered well. Oh, and off goes the race leader. How many more race lead changes are we going to get? He's stuck in the gravel. He's beached. That was my fault, wasn't it, for bigging up Dave Heisman. I'm not going to big anybody else up now.
Well, to be fair, Lee Piercy had made the move, but it just seemed that Heisman just chucked it off all on his own fruition, to be honest, as it looks like Joel Lask now really wants that race lead off Lee Piercy. I think Piercy's going to want to hold on to it for as long as possible. He's going to do that for at least probably the next lap, because Nathan Smith is gunning one on Joel Lask. Joel going all the way out the outside. He's been in this situation before, and he's off. He was having that sort of incident with Andy Cowell just a lap ago. He didn't really learn his lesson. He held on to that piece of the track, and he got nudged off as well. To be fair, neither of them, I think, were Joel Lask's fault, but it's just the situation you end up in, don't you? So it's a bit of a shame that one. Lask is all the way down into 11th place behind the likes of Dalton Ayres and behind, crucially, Richard, Nicky Taylor.
Nicky Taylor. So, yeah, it's all turned. And Nicky Taylor, who hates Oulton Park, has made it through into 4th position from the podium. Incredible stuff from Nicky Taylor. And sometimes the dominoes have got to fall the right way for you. Let's, again, not speak too soon. I said I wasn't going to big anyone else up, but Nathan Smith's recovered very well. He had that 6 second lead, and he's in a strong position, as is Josh Martin now, looking for the lead. Dives, had a look at the inside, can't quite do it. Now goes to the outside run, so chasing Lee Piercy. Good duo here for the lead. The pressure is really off these two, because remember, we had Joel Lask up with these guys going for the lead, but now he's that way behind is Joel Lask, down in 11th position. So this has changed the complexion of the race again. And Josh Martin we'll look in his mirrors. He'll see Nathan Smith, or he knows Nathan is quick. But also, hello, we've lost our leader through. Into the lead goes Josh Martin. Lee Pearcey going wide, and new leader again.
We saw John Jones as well off at Cascades on the outside, so that's a bit of a cork in the bottle for a lot of people. Moved out the way, shall we say. And Josh Martin, you're right, it was a bad moment for Pearcey going wide and just allowing Martin to get through. Not sure who's actually the quicker on the road here between these two drivers, but Martin will be hoping to extend that one as Nathan Smith, you're right, with a recovery drive, chases after Pearcey this time, with Churchhouse in 5th position. After getting separated from Josh Martin at once upon a time, it seemed impossible that you could separate those two. Well, the rest of the drivers have seemed to have managed it. And then Nicky Taylor in 4th place, and he got a couple of seconds back to the likes of Churchill. So it's yeah, a big swing really of championship points that have gone on right now as Smith tries to fend off the attack from Nicky Taylor, but Taylor looks very interested in taking this 3rd place.
Yeah, he's having a go, isn't he? Whether he thought, did that get physical? I didn't really see any contact, but it looked like Nicky just backed away momentarily. Nathan Smith still there with the blue cross on top of the car. The yellow machine busy chasing Nicky Taylor, looking to get a double podium. Is he going to be the only man to double up on the podium today? It's certainly looking as if he might well do. Might even be able to get further up because Pearcey is not really being dropped by Josh Martin at the moment, and we're pretty much only at the halfway stage of this race with Martin leading, Pearcey 2nd. Here's your top 6 in shot. Smith, Nathan Smith, that is in 3rd place. Nicky Taylor 4th. Tom Churchhouse is in 5th from Brad Smith, who's coming up well. Simon Thorpe, I was going to name check, but he drops down to 11th. So it's Craig Curtis now in 7th position, racing, of course, in memory of his dad, Steve, who we're all thinking about today. And then Joel Lass now up into 8th position, ahead of Andy Carroll. And Blakey is next up in 10th.
Simon Thorpe, actually, he said he dropped down to 11th. He dropped down all the way down to 16th. And that'll happen when you just go straight on at the island hairpin and end up in the barrier, unfortunately. Not entirely sure how he ended up there, but that is where he ended up. Nicky Taylor up around Nathan Smith now, puts the smoke flying left, right, and centre to try and drive through that, maybe hindering the visibility, depending on what settings these driver has on, of course, because you can turn smoke and stuff off if you are a driver with your own personal PC, because smoke does take up quite a lot of processing power in the computer. If the computer's not quite good enough, you can turn those graphics off, which is a big advantage that they don't necessarily get in the real world either. If someone blows an engine in front of you, you're going to notice it in the real world. But it looks like that Josh Martin, you're right, hasn't driven away from Lee Pearcey. And I think Nicky Taylor and Nathan Smith would probably have the pace to challenge for the top step if they allowed each other to get going and get gone. But at the moment, Nicky Taylor doesn't seem intent on that. He wants to get through and be the leader.
He does, yeah. Nicky was saying, I did love the way he said, yeah, I'm not thinking about the championships, but then he sort of added the addendum, didn't he? He said, well, actually, I did think about how the points were going, and these drivers do, if they can think about it, they will do. There is Andy Carroll in 9th position, Joel Lass, a handy wingman to have, perhaps on their way through the lower reaches of the top 10 to try and get up towards the podium again. 11 minutes 18 on the clock as they come down from Hilltop into the Knickerbrook chicane, Hislops, and then the chicane up Clay Hill they'll go once again. So Martin, what's the gap? 9/10 of a second, sort of seesawing 8-9 depending on what part of the track they are on. Pearcey now coming under a little bit of pressure from Nathan Smith. The white car will be appearing a little bit wider, a little bit bigger in that rear view that the 2nd place man has, and in fact he's going to have a look as he got him. I think they're side by side at the moment for 2nd position. And it's going to be Smith working his way back through. He's got it. He's back up into P2. Nicky Taylor was too far back to make that move through as well, but will be keen to try and get onto a podium now at the expense of Lee Pearcey, now that we've got Nathan Smith up into P2. But Pearcey is fighting back, grabs the inside, has a go back into 2nd position. Super stuff from him. Good clean racing thus far. Nicky Taylor can smell a bit of blood here and looks up the inside as we go overhead. Drops back a wee bit here. Nathan Smith wanting to try and get back into 2nd position. The gap, though, the race leader has got the gap out to 1.9, whilst these three squabble over 2nd position. This is great stuff for Josh Martin.
Yeah, Josh Martin is living his best McDonald's life and loving it right now. Is Nathan Smith slides up the inside I'm enjoying it too, I won't lie to you, because these three are really giving us something to shout about and get on the edge of our seat about. Lee Piercy, especially in this second race, has really been very, very entertaining for better or worse. I think on the most part, it's been for the better, hasn't it? As he hops and skips and jumps his way over the chicane curbs, and Nathan Smith has to follow in suit. But look at that, it's not just a three-way battle for second place. You got Brad Smith, you got Tom Churchhouse, Craig Curtis, Joel Lask, Andy Carroll, all waiting in line to try and be the next best thing to Josh Martin.
Yeah, what a race we're having here. Let's see if the DS Commercials car can go through on the inside. As it will look too far back, it's going to have to defend from Nicky Taylor. Norfolk and good. Nicky Taylor, here he comes, challenging hard in the red and yellow car, but it's Piercy still in second position. Battle on for third. Brad Smith wants to get in the mix as well. He's in green. Taylor's got his nose in front, but they go through D-Elite. Piercy still in P2. Taylor and Smith side by side. Another Smith coming up into the mix as well, as Nathan Smith got the inside run down into Old Hall Corner. Yes, he has, I think, at the moment. Taylor's going to flick back, or is he? No, he isn't. Is there a little touch between the two cars there? Taylor still challenging, and side by side they go. Brad Smith coming up to play as well. Taylor does get his nose in front, 4-second position, but he's on the outside line, and Nathan Smith makes that count. Now, Taylor's got to watch for Brad Smith coming up as well, as they head down towards the island hairpin again. In the distance is Josh Martin, out of shot. Here they come then. Smith still there. Where's Piercy now? He's dropped right the way back out of it, hasn't he? So this is all for P2, and it's Brad Smith now up ahead of Nicky Taylor as they go up towards Hilltop.
I can only imagine that Piercy has got to drive through for potentially track limits, because he has just disappeared. He's all the way. He's not. He's in 12th place. He's not DNF'd or anything like that, and we didn't see him fall off the circuit. So I can imagine he's been cutting a few too many track limits, or been on the outside of turn 1 in the final corner. So yeah, a bit of a shame for him, but it hasn't dampened this particular battle, has it? Because Nathan Smith still leads it. Brad Smith has made his way through. Nicky Taylor, Tom Churchhouse, Craig Curtis, all involved, and Joel Lask will be fighting, scrapping, desperate to try and catch up to the likes of Nicky Taylor and rescue and extend those championship points on his rival as well. This is very, very exciting. Josh Martin, again, is sort of driven off with it, and he hasn't driven off anywhere near as much as I thought he would. If a couple of the quicker drivers get through with 7 minutes to go, I'll still be slightly worried about it. Craig Curtis going through on Tom Churchhouse on the inside, going through Lodge now. It's going to be very, very tight as Brad Smith has pulled away just a little bit from Nicky Taylor. Craig Curtis into 5th position, and that should be 5th, all sewn up, done and dusted as well. Just about ahead of Tom Churchhouse, who looks like he has an answer, Richard.
Yeah, Nicky Taylor got a wee bit tail happy, didn't he, a couple of corners ago, and that lost him momentum off of the battle for 2nd and 3rd place. But good stuff from Craig Curtis here and Tom Churchhouse. Churchhouse giving him a good workout. Remember, Churchhouse 3rd in the championship. Coming into this round, as Smith challenges Smith. Brad on the inside, dives down the inside, a late lunge. He goes through, going wide is Nathan Smith. Nicky Taylor will now again get a whiff of a podium in his nostrils as Nathan Smith just lost a little bit of momentum courtesy of that tap, and it's all going to be played out in the steward's room, isn't it, over the next few days for sure. Physical stuff, but Brad Smith up into P2 from a quiet start to the meeting. But having said that, Nathan Smith again, remember, the early leader some 20 minutes ago, is fighting back and challenging for 2nd position. Side by side they go. Nathan Smith in white, Brad Smith in green, and has Nathan got the move here? He has. He goes through on the inside, out onto the grass goes Brad Smith, and that is surely going to be a retirement. It's a load of places lost for him. That's exactly what Jack Oliphant was saying earlier on. If you go off, you're off here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, especially around the outside of Druids. He did manage to get on without making contact with the wall, which, thank God for Brad Smith, because otherwise it may well have been a retirement. You're off in a big way if you go into that wall. Nicky Taylor, though, all over the back. Nathan Smith's work is not done here for the rest of this race. He's just swapped one rival for another, hasn't he? And Nicky Taylor is not the driver you want to see in your rearview mirrors. He's not going to give up. He's going to go for everything, and he's very, very decisive when he decides to go for a move. So Nathan Smith needs to be perfect, and that's not what he is going through Cascade. There's going to be a run here, Richard, for Nicky Taylor, who I think just had to come off the throttle as Nathan Smith rejoined the circuit at just the wrong time for Taylor, but he's going to have a look at the inside, going into the island hairpin. Craig Curtis very close and late on the brakes. Joel Lask as Curtis's position. Nicky Taylor holds on to 2nd place. He's gotten ahead of Nathan Smith as Curtis does battle, with Joel Lask behind.
Yeah, Nathan Smith losing places 2 laps on the bounce, and he'll be kicking himself for that. But having said that, still driving very, very well indeed after that early run. And he's going to be learning all the time, is Nathan Smith. P3 at the moment, but on for potentially 2 second positions is Nicky Taylor. He is now 5 seconds down behind Josh Martin. Taylor at the head of the chasing group. Nathan Smith next up. Then it's Craig Curtis. Joel Lask might fancy his chances with 4 minutes 35 to go of a podium as well. Having not had one in race number 1, he'll be keen to keep Nicky Taylor in his sights. But I tell you what, Nathan Smith isn't finished here, but he's in that perennial position of, does he chase, does he defend? He's got to do both here. And at the moment, I don't think he can defend from Craig Curtis, who's in 4th looking for 3rd. But Curtis as well has to defend from Joel Lask.
Yeah, it's all a bit difficult, especially when there's contact involved, which I think is exactly what happened between Craig Curtis and Joel Lask just then. Luckily, Curtis kept his foot on the throttle and he was able to carry on. He's in 4th position, hunting to try and get up onto the podium. Joel Lask obviously wants to be ahead of Nicky Taylor, but that's going to be a big ask now as Taylor extends this lead on Nathan Smith by about half a second. 3 or 4 minutes to go. Curtis holding off Joel Lask as well for the inside. I'm just waiting to see. Yeah, he parked on the apex and got a nice exit away. Josh Martin is probably the happiest person on this circuit, not just because he's in the race lead, but because he's just missed all of this meleeing behind him, hasn't he? He's not had to worry about anything. Just hit his apexes. He'll be easily the most boring well, I'd say if he'd be the most boring interview, it's Josh Martin. There's no chance of that. But he would probably have the most dull race and stories out of this one, because the rest of them have thrown everything at each other, and we've loved every single minute. It's felt like a very Oulton Park race, Richard, hasn't it, really?
It's been really good, and I think there will be a queue to get out because everyone's staying to the end to make sure that they watch the closing stages of this one. 3 minutes on the clock as we watch Craig Curtis in 4th position, the Primex car. Nicky Taylor at the head of the group, P2 at the moment. Nathan Smith still running well. Remember, he won race 2 at Silverstone, the first of the rounds that I had to miss, unfortunately. So I didn't get to call Brad's race win in that one, but one of 6 different race winners that we've had thus far in the series. And looking at the moment to have a little bit of breathing space as Joel Lask tries his hardest now to close down and make a move on Craig Curtis. He sticks his nose on the inside, which converts to the outside for the next corner. Now has another quick look under braking. He'll try and just see if there's a gap akin to the one that we saw Nathan Smith leave a couple of laps ago. He doesn't do that to Craig Curtis, and he's making Lask go right the way around the outside onto the grass. Can't do it. We'll now maybe have a look down the inside as they come down towards the chicane once again. Josh Martin 4 seconds ahead of Nicky Taylor. Nathan Smith comfortable-ish at the moment in 3rd place with just under 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I don't think Josh Martin really had the pace to win this if it wasn't for that battling, was it? Because he has been reeled in somewhat by his second already as Nicky Taylor has gotten free of everybody else. One driver who I've been keeping sort of an outside eye on for the majority of this race, Richard, is our race 1 winner, Elliot Daltonaires. Now, when I first glanced at him, he was in 16th. I glanced at him 2 laps later, he was in 13th. I glanced at him again, he was in 16th again somehow. And now he's up to 6th. I've absolutely no idea how he's managed it. I have no idea what he's been going on. He's probably got a plethora of stories to go through. But ultimately, good points picked up by him, isn't it? Considering that, 10 minutes ago, as I said, he was in 16th place.
Yeah, superb stuff from him. We really have seen some great performances by a lot of really good, talented drivers in this one. And there he is, Elliot Daltonaires in 6th position, ahead of Andy Carroll. So he's dropped Carroll in this one as we've got 53 seconds on the clock. Josh Martin now 4 seconds clear of Nicky Taylor. Nathan Smith still in P3. Here is our race leader who's going to grab another podium interview in the Dean Martin Contractors green livery. Out of the island hairpin we go, and there's a challenge on now for that 3rd place. Craig Curtis is teeing up the right line here as they go up on Hilltop. Got down the inside. That's been the Achilles heel, hasn't it? The island hairpin for Nathan Smith. He's managed to get it back. He got a good run out of the hairpin and over Hilltop and maintains it, but looking very squirrely there, and he's going to cede the place. So Curtis goes 3rd now, courtesy of Nathan Smith, who's going to try and fight back.
Oh, no.
Smith's collected it all up, and there's big contact behind them with Daltonaires and Joel Lask getting involved as well.
Yeah, I was about to sort of breathe in and have a big sigh there, but Dalton Ayres didn't turn Joel Lask around. Nathan Smith and Craig Curtis, I think there was a little bit of contact as our cameras cut to them at the island hairpin. Here's Josh Martin. It's going to be the checkered flag for him. How it all settles for third place is really anybody's guess, but Josh Martin, who got ahead, he's not the quickest. He's had a couple of slow laps, but he hasn't needed to be the fastest. He's in the right position, and that is first place, the top step of the podium. Nicky Taylor in second place after a very hard-fought race. And it looks like it's going to be Nathan Smith to cross the line. Craig Curtis has dropped down a couple of positions and ends up behind the fourth place man of Joel Lask. And fifth place, Elliot Dalton Ayres, our race one winner. And Craig Curtis unfortunately comes home in sixth position after attempting on that final lap of the race to get up onto that final step of the podium. It wasn't to be and drops down into sixth. Andy Cowell in seventh, Tom Churchhouse in eighth, Sam Milner ninth, Kenny Press finishes in 10th, and Johnny Ogden probably reminisces on a night that could have been after race one, after being so strong in qualifying. Didn't really have it in race two, unfortunately, to get through the order. As the checkered flag flies, we will have a chat to all three of our podium sitters in a couple of minutes' time.
Thanks to AOC, one of our excellent selection of sponsors. So we've got a big thanks to everyone who sponsored the championship and getting involved with us. And if your company wants to get involved, get in touch with Rich Hayden. We've got our race interviews now for our podium, and stepping on to the third step of our virtual podium. Well done, Nathan Smith. Well done, mate.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that was hard.
I was going to say, I said you might be virtually kicking yourself because I think there were two moves, weren't there, going into the island hairpin that you lost out, but you kept fighting back. So is that your Achilles heel on the track?
Yeah, I can't believe I've done that, to be honest. At the start as well with Joel, we both turned into the chicane.
Yeah.
I sort of bounced off the curb into him, couldn't really do anything about it, so I feel bad for him. And then got such a good lead. I thought, we could be on for a win here. And then just completely missed my break point, went off, and I thought, well, I better turn around and reverse. And then had Nicky coming up behind, who I tried my hardest to keep behind, but he's fast and he knows where to put the car. So, and then towards the end, it was just an absolute scrap. I didn't know whether to look left, right. It was there was someone everywhere.
What was good from our point of view is that whatever was thrown at you and whatever happened to you, you bounced back from it. You weren't letting your head drop.
No, I wish I gave this a story as old as time. I'd never give myself enough practice before the race. I literally jumped on straight into qualifying, not driven this car on this track before. And then throughout the race, just got progressively quicker in race one, but I was just quite far down the pack due to incidents. And then obviously race two, I felt faster, got myself out there, lost all that. But I was on the pace, definitely. That was good fun.
Obviously, your brother's in the race as well. Have you got a side-by-side setup or in your own spaces in the house? How does it work? Do you coach each other?
No, we both got our own homes, so he's in his house, I'm in mine.
Okay.
I do try and give him some pointers, and like he does me too. In race one, it was really unlucky. Obviously, we started pretty much side by side, and I saw him get taken out behind, and I did feel bad for him. And then I saw him disconnect, so I don't know what happened in race two, but I'm sure we'll catch up.
Oh, for sure. Well, Nathan, well done, mate. Good to see you in third place, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium again in one of the later rounds. Nathan Smith in third position. And our P2 interview is going to be by Jack.
Yes, Nikki Taylor, congratulations on second place. I feel like you had to work just as hard for it as Nathan Smith was just illustrating for us. How are you feeling after that one?
Stressful. I mean, that must have been probably the most stressful race of my life because I got a really good start. Like I was working with Joel and we got through a bit, and then in Cascades I saw a flying car go into me, which was always fun. And then literally through the first 5 minutes of the race, I just kept getting shoved off. So I ended up with 3 track cuts with 19 minutes left, which I think is why throughout the first like half of that race, I was being really, really conservative of where I made moves on like Nathan and that, because I was just so scared to get another cut would get me a drive through. But yeah, it's good because I've gone for the last few weeks. I felt a bit down with reverse grids, with not being able to get through as what Elliot, Kyle when he was here, and everyone else has been able to do. And to finally get back on the podium in a reverse grid is a good feeling.
I have to say, Nikki, coming on then, and I feel like this over the last few weeks as well, you've sort of shown this more often. Like, I feel the excitement and the enjoyment from sim racing that it can bring, obviously. That's the whole point of why we do it and everything like that. Are those sort of races, although you said it's mad, it's stressful and everything like that, it's sort of why you do it, though, isn't it? It's the best of sim racing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have preferred to get a bit higher up at Donington in the previous round, but it is what it is. And the reverse grids with 20 plus cars on each round we've had this championship have been manic, but they've been really, really good. The driving standards this week, I think some people have said in the chat aren't the best, but from where I was standing, everyone who I raced with, apart from 1 or 2 cars, were clean and were fair. And Nathan, I had a great battle with him, and I can't remember where I got him, but I just snuck under him and tried to just keep it because honestly, with the weight and with the car damage I got from the first corner incident, my times weren't there. But as I say, I was just trying to be really consistent and really clean with track cuts because honestly, at the first corner, I think I was going about 5-6 tenths slower than what I normally do just to make sure I don't go wide.
I was going to say it is always very stressful, isn't it? That you don't want to drive through because I think that's what happened to Brad Smith, who got into second place, of course. As you guys started to scrapping over third, sorry. Then all of a sudden you're scrapping over second, so you don't want to be that person who ends up going in again. So yeah, big congratulations, Nikki. And I think we've decided as well, because it was so entertaining to watch, because you did well in race 2 without obviously you had 2 different races, but both of them equally successful. So, Nikki Taylor, we're going to give you the driver of the round. Big congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for putting on the races with Rich and this week. And it's been good fun. And I'll see you next week.
Fantastic, Nikki. Congratulations. And Richard, I believe you can have a chat to our race winner, who probably had the most boring race out of them all.
Well, he calls himself Josh the Innocent Martin. Josh, well done. Top step of the podium. Nice one, mate. Tell us about your race.
Cheers. It was all right. I've had a miserable evening driving around this track. But no, that race went okay. Actually, I think I started around 15th, didn't I? Something like that. Worked my way up through the field quite quickly. Apart from when I got up to John Jones, that slowed my progress down a little bit because he's always so tough to get by. I did a brilliant move up the inside of him and going into turn 2. And he somehow hung on around the outside and kept the position when we got to the hairpin. But yeah, apart from that, gained a few places from other people bumping into each other. Got into the lead, and then it was just trying to not get track cuts, which has been the story of my evening.
I mean, we talk about Oulton Park and there not being that many opportunities to overtake, but from what I've seen today, there've been lots of moves, lots of overtakes, and lots of people coming back from overtakes. And do you know what? There could have been a lot more contact than there was, particularly in the opening stages of race 2. And for your point of view, I know you're probably not as happy being on the podium or top step of the podium for a reverse grid race, but the point is, you came from way back, as you rightly said, didn't you, to get that win?
Yeah, and I got all the way through, and I think that's probably the most important bit. Kind of damage free. I had the odd light rub, but nothing major. And I think that's the biggest part of these reverse grid races, especially on a track like Oulton. It's so easy to bump into another car, and just trying to keep your keep your nose clean and keep out of trouble.
So thoughts ahead, obviously next week's Croft, and how does that compare to you? Have you done Croft for real? Because I think you've had the odd dabble, haven't you, for real?
Yeah, well, I'd done mini challenge in 2019, and yeah, we done Croft then. And if I remember rightly, I think I had one or two podiums that weekend. But no, I like Croft. I like Oulton as well. I was just really struggling this week with the track cuts. I just felt like I just couldn't push, and it's so the real penalty, something with it's changed, because normally you'd run wide, you could just back off, and it wouldn't give you the track cut if you lost time. But for whatever reason, this week it is you ran wide, even if you slowed down, like I did on a couple of occasions, especially in race one, and lost like a second or so. It still gave me the cut, so it was just trying to stay within the limits. But hopefully Croft won't have that issue and can push on a bit again.
That'll be good. Points wise, I mean, I know you drivers tend not to add the points up as you're going along, but coming into this evening's racing, you were fourth in the standings behind Tom Churchhouse, so it's all fairly close, isn't it, at the top?
Yeah, I think I scored better tonight than I was expecting, because a bit like last week, I just didn't have any time through the week to actually get any practice in. So I only done probably about 15, 20 laps last night. So yeah, I was expecting to have a lower score on this one. And when I jumped on the server before qualifying, I posted like 2 laps and I was like down in 16th. I thought, okay, everyone's really fast this week, and it seemed really close. So I wasn't expecting a decent point score this round, but I think it'd probably be in the 30s, which yeah, I'm happy with that. Keeps me in
What would be the
keeps me in
minimum,
the fight.
Josh? Sorry, Josh. Yeah, I was going to say, what would be the minimum sort of time if someone was, thinking of coming to join the championship? What's the minimum sort of practice time do you think that you would put in before a round? To say, yeah, I'm going to do okay with X amount of practice. What time would that be?
It really depends on the track in the car. Normally I'm quite, if it all the UK tracks I know really well. I've driven most of them in the real world, so I don't really need to learn where I'm going. So a lot of them, some cars, I'll just click with it straight away, and 20 laps, 30 laps, I'd be somewhere handy. But then other rounds, you could be up towards kind of the 80 to 100 lap range before you've really kind of click with a track and car combo. But it just comes down to really how much spare time I have during the week to how much practice I get in. So yeah, but it obviously the more practice you do, generally the faster it makes you.
Yeah, getting into that rhythm. Well, many congratulations. A great win. Good to chat to you on the podium at last for this series, Josh. And hope we'll catch up a little bit later on in the year. Josh Martin, our race 2 winner here on the Oulton Park configuration. Well done, Josh. We say
Cheers, thank you
congratulations
very
to Nicky Taylor, P2, double P2, and our driver of the day, and Nathan Smith, who took 3rd position. And that's where we are. Next week, the Mac is back. Andy McEwen will be taking over from my slot. Luckily for you guys, you've got Jack Oliphant here, who will be doing the honours again. Jack, thanks ever so much for your company again today. Been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to Rich Hayden. Everyone who's watched, hope you've enjoyed it. And, of course, all of our on-track stars. They really have been. Thanks ever so much for the entertainment, great racing you've put on. So from all of us here at the halfway stage of the CAMMUS JCW Mini Cup, powered by Phoenix Racing, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.